Welcome to the Native Outcast podcast.
You sound like Amitabh Bachchan or something.
If the screen was black and you just played that, I think people would actually think you got Amitabh Bachchan.
We should have said, bro.
Yeah.
We should have said, special guest. This episode, you
man,
got Amitabh Bachchan.
No, you should have said special guest on episode 100, and then you had people
shit.
tuning in, waiting.
Do you know who I was going for?
Who?
Choudhury G.
I love how you went from Choudhury G to Amitabh Bachchan. to be fair, I see where he's coming from.
Same
Choudhury G.
ballpark, I think.
Yeah,
I know.
same ballpark. You're going for the basically fresh accent.
yeah. I'm not sure some of the listeners would appreciate you using that terminology.
It's true. I apologise to absolutely nobody. That's Conor McGregor, isn't it?
I think you need to apologise to Choudhury G.
Yeah, doing him an injustice.
Or Amitabh Bachchan.
Yeah,
What's his name in real life? Asim Choudhury, I think. Yeah.
I think so. Asim Choudhury.
If you ever hear this, Asim, I want to apologise to absolutely no one.
And please, can you come on our podcast as a guest?
In that case, yeah, I apologise.
Oh, yeah. What would this be? Like episode 6 or 7 or something?
Six.
Yeah.
Six,
You
man.
can't be burning bridges in episode 6.
Yeah.
You're going to be blacklisted by the media.
That's true.
Yeah, messed up already, man. Oh well, we're on Apple Podcast.
We are. We're on Spotify
We're on Google Podcast
and we're on YouTube.
and Amazon Podcast.
So we're on most platforms now, which is good, alhamdulillah.
Coming to a platform near you.
Exactly. Hit us up if there's other platforms that we're not a part of. We would happily join.
We're good. We're right on the main ones, I think, pretty much.
Yeah, I think since we last filmed it, we've more or less are on most platforms now.
Yeah,
So we're more or less there.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We've got a guest with us today. State your name, cuz. What's that from? What video is that from? What? There's a video. Isn't it?
Oh, it's from Stormzy's.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, fire on the park, isn't it?
Yeah,
It
that's
says,
it.
stay your name, cuz.
Yeah.
Stormzy, innit?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, my name's Mish. I work in London. I'm actually Saf's cousin. So,
Yeah, man.
yeah.
Yeah, Saf's cousin. I've met Mish for the first time today, so
Yeah.
He actually, no joke, Sully drove through 4 hours of traffic just to come meet me.
yeah. I did actually. True story.
Dedication.
A journey that normally takes about 45-50 minutes to get to Saf's took 4 hours.
He wasn't even coming for the podcast. He
No,
just knew I was
I
here.
was coming to see Mish because I've heard so much good things about him. I wanted to see him in person. But I'm glad we've got you on today.
Oh, thank you.
'cause
Yeah.
we could actually talk and
Yeah, well, Saf's spoken to me about the podcast before, and I thought it was so important to have a contribution to sort of, I guess, the mediascape or the podcast landscape from essentially brown voices, right?
Yeah.
Because there's not, as great as it is that we have a lot more representation from black people, brown people are still quite lacking, and we're not very vocal in a lot of different arenas and fields. So it's really important that we try and put our voice out there. Additionally, I thought it would be quite cool if you almost had this as like a time capsule for future generations. You know, if you showed this podcast to your kids or to your grandkids, because I think in the first episode, both of you mentioned that you woke up in predominantly white neighborhoods.
yeah.
Whereas imagine if you showed this to your grandkids and they're like, what is a predominantly white neighborhood?
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
hopefully by that point, you know, everyone's sort of living together in harmony.
Yeah, that's it, man. I think Mish actually hit the nail on the head there. Basically, one of the reasons why we started this podcast was because there's not enough voices and representation. I mean, there is, but the more there is, the better, right? And everyone's got different experiences that they've had, and we feel like we've had some pretty unique experiences. So that's why we started it, basically.
You say that, but if I was to ask you to name 10 Asian people in mainstream media, excluding Bollywood, do you think you'd be able to name 10?
Nah, and also
Because if I asked you
in
about
the
black
UK as
people
well,
or white people,
yeah.
you probably could.
Yeah.
But if I asked you about 10 mainstream media,
You mean like household brown people?
yeah,
yeah.
Or, yeah, like Asian people who you might know, who you could mention their name to anyone in England or in America or somewhere in the Western Hemisphere. Is that how hemispheres work? No, it's northern and southern, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I done GCSE geography, and I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
well,
say Western world.
it is now.
Yeah.
Because Southwell Austin 316 said so.
God, yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with that.
Yeah, so,
But
you know what I'm saying, though?
I think you're
like,
right.
Do you think you could name 10? Do you think you could name 10?
No.
I couldn't name 10.
We're not claiming to be in that 10, by the way. We're just saying like there isn't.
Yeah.
But no, I can't.
But no, I'd say that to back up Mish's point of there aren't many voices of there aren't enough black voices
As it
anyway.
is, yeah.
But there's more black voices than there are Asian voices.
Yeah.
And females, there are probably quite a few white female voices, but there's definitely not anywhere near enough black female voices, and there's next to zero female Asian voices, basically non-existent.
So the more there is, basically, the better. And everyone's got experiences they could share, and that's one of the reasons why we started this and why we're doing this. And Mish, actually, behind the scenes, you've kind of helped us in a way as well. Like,
yeah,
in terms
massively.
Of, like,
shout out you.
Yeah, like in terms of like setting the groundwork and helping us decide what this is going to be about and what we're going to talk about and things like that. So Mish has kind of been there behind the scenes already. So it's good to actually have him on the podcast today as well.
Yeah, I don't really think I did much. I mean, what did I do apart from suggest you buy microphones and you record yourselves and then you publish it?
Well, you kind of gave us the push, right? You're the one who said about the time capsule thing. And I think that's a really good idea because like we're not doing this podcast to get like big. We might not even get big or like we might not get many listeners. But one of the reasons why we do it is because we have these conversations anyways. And like you said, we might as well record it and have it as a time capsule where us in the future can look back on and show our kids.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I would rather, instead of having 1,000 people listening to this just as a routine, that 100 people listen to it, and out of that 100, one person might take something out of it and apply it to whatever they do, or something. So that's what it's more about for us.
We always talk about being a representation, but what does that actually mean? You know, I do a lot of modelling work, and for me, getting into the world of modelling was that younger brown kids can look up and see a brown face and think, actually, this person looks like me, or looks like my cousin, or looks like my brother. You know, because growing up, we didn't really have that.
No, definitely not. That was not even a line of work that you would even think to do.
Yeah, well, it's quite funny because I got into that line thinking, okay, I'm going to get into modelling. I'm going to, be a great representation for brown people everywhere. And almost every single shoot I go to, they've got a list of the models that have been cast, essentially their faces, and next to it says what role they're playing.
Yeah.
And next to mine, it always says Indian male.
Really?
And it doesn't.
Wow.
I'd rather it just says South Asian male or brown guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It might as well just have a box that says diversity with a tick next to it.
That's crazy that they use
Mad.
they put Indian male.
Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah. And on my profile pages and stuff online, it does say that I'm Bengali. So it's but yeah,
that's strange. Like we were thinking, like obviously Saf and I done an episode already on like careers and like education and stuff. So you would have been like an amazing guest to have on that. But I suppose because you're quite new to this and it's the first time I'm meeting you as well, it'll be good just to take it back a little bit and maybe like on the first episode, me and Saf spoke a little bit about our experiences, like growing up in a predominantly white area, and our experiences through school and things like that. So it'll be good if like obviously Saf already knows because he's your cousin and he kind of grew up with you. But I suppose for me and anyone listening to this, it'll be good to like know a little bit about your background and where you transitioned from at school to like where you are now with the modelling stuff. So yeah, it'll be great to
yeah, sure thing. Yeah, so I was born in southeast England in Chatham, also known as Chatham. I think that's where a lot of chavs come from.
I wouldn't think that until you're far from a chav.
But quite soon after I was born, we actually moved to Arundel in West Sussex. So actually quite similar location to you guys, not that far off. And I lived there until I was about 8 or 9 years old. And most weekends, I think me and Saf would actually meet up well, we wouldn't meet up. Our parents would like bring us to each other's houses.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Standard Asian
Yeah.
mingling.
Yeah, it was just family visits, really. It wasn't us going out and like hanging around the streets of West Sussex.
In the hard, cold streets of southeast England.
Sound like you're from the ends or something. Like,
Grand Theft Auto, West Sussex.
that'd be like the most boring game. It's probably like old white people everywhere. And that's it. And the sea.
I lived there until I was about 8 or 9, and then my parents, I think they started renting out some property here in this country, and in their minds they thought, United Kingdom, we've completed it. We're done. Like
Completed, mate.
Yeah, completed, mate. Yeah, like it's time for us to go back now. You know, like we basically had enough money to go back to Bangladesh, and not even live in the village that we're from, but live in the city, which was developing and doing quite decent. And my parents wouldn't have to work, and we're making enough money from property that we're renting in this country to be able to live quite a comfortable life out there. And we did that for in my mind, I always thought it was 2 years, but my mum actually told me recently it was close to a year.
I remember that state. I was so upset, man, because growing up, me and you were we were almost like best mates.
Yeah.
And we were proper close because we would do a lot of things together where obviously Mish just mentioned, like we would, like every weekend, I'd probably see both days, Saturday and Sunday. We'd do like, when it came to like learning Quran and stuff, we had the same Quran teacher. Shout! I'm not going to mention their name, but shout him. I actually saw him a few years ago.
Oh, really?
And he's looking at it now from an adult perspective. He's an incredibly nice man. At the time, not so much.
Yeah, I think that applies to most kids in madrasa and like doing Quran classes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
you get that occasional slap or a hit with a stick. or something.
We used to get the sideburn twist.
Yeah.
Sideburn twist. Yeah.
Just to interrupt really quickly, like what's a memory or the funniest like story you could think of when it comes to like Quran classes?
I don't know, but we had at some time it was at your house, and at one stage it was at my house, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any funny memories though. I can't actually remember that far back, if I'm honest with you.
I've got a funny memory, that's right, and I remember it like I don't remember it too well, but my sister like backed it up.
Yeah.
Basically, like.
So I love that you needed corroboration to your story.
I
mean, like you have a witness.
My sister was like, it happened, because people might say I'm making off or something like that. But basically, like, so when your mess up comes, like I didn't go to like Quran classes. They used to come to our house, and like my mum used to give him food like halfway through. As
We had all of that.
Well, usually our mum would sort of knock on the door, but not enter the room.
And
we'd have to like walk out.
Yeah.
And for us, that would be like a respite from being sat down for like an hour.
And
we'd take our time, carrying that tray of fruit and
get
sweet,
a few bites.
Quickly have a glass of water.
My mum used to do that as well. So she used to knock on the door, and like it used to mostly be me, and I used to go out and then basically bring a tray of food back to him. And so before that, I think my mum gave him food, and she had some. I don't know if she like it was like freshly like broken like peanuts. And I said to the mess up like badam sani, and he thought obviously badam means like peanuts in Bengali, and he thought I meant like I was being cheeky, and I said, do I want to hit him?
Yeah. So for non-Bengali speakers, it's I think it's called a homonym, where two words sound the same but have different meanings.
So
badam is basically a word for peanut, but it also means a word for hitting.
Yeah.
to hit something.
Yeah. So I said to him badam sani, which means do you want to smack kind of thing. and he got like pissed off, and he smacked me around the ear.
Yeah.
And it made him like deaf in one ear. I was like, I was messed, bro. And then
But the funny
did he apologise to you when you were like? No,
I can't remember if he apologised. I just said like, I meant like, do you want to eat some peanuts?
That's mad.
After he hit me, and my sister was like laughing, and I was like, it's not funny because I was like half deaf in one ear.
how did your parents react?
I don't think they. My mum just thought, like, it is what it is.
Yeah,
like,
this is something I was going to mention. The fact that a lot of the time when we have these Arabic tutors, it's not a case that they hit us without our parents knowing. It's not even a case of them asking us, our parents, do you mind if we discipline them if they get it wrong? Usually it's a case of our parents saying, if he gets it wrong, make sure you hit him.
It's like standard, isn't it?
Yeah, standard procedure, man. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think for me, a funny story.
Quite harsh.
For me, a funny story is when I used to go to the mosque and do it. And I think I reached an age where getting hit with a stick just wasn't that threatening anymore.
So you've just done it, you're used to it.
Yeah, exactly. And there was something that just made me laugh in the class. I can't remember where it was. And the guy hit me like on the back with a stick, and I just carried on laughing. He just kept on hitting me, and I was still kept like whatever I was laughing at originally was made funnier by the fact that he was hitting me and that I was still laughing. And every time he hit me, I was laughing more. And that was the last time I went back to that class. I don't know if he spoke to my parents or what happened, but I never went back to that class.
Yeah, a similar one actually that I can remember. This wasn't when you and I shared one. It was probably at so this was at a mosque in Kent.
Yeah.
And it was you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it was in there, and I was very, very young, and I was in there basically whatever. I think I was spending the summer there, and I was in there and whatever. And there was one kid, and it was the imam was teaching us Quran and whatever. And there was one kid, and he had done something, I can't remember what it was. Then Messab started chasing him with a stick. And you know that mosque had an upstairs, downstairs. It had like kitchen, everything. And man, he was chasing him around the whole place. Like he was chasing him upstairs, downstairs. Man, it was so funny, man. I can't remember. And all the kid kept saying was, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry."
While he was running.
Man. Man, it was ruthless. Anyway, sorry, we interrupted your.
No,
I think you were saying what made me think of that is you were saying how you and Mish used to go to like Quran classes together, and you were devastated when you left.
Oh yes, I actually remember that time, and I was really sad when you guys went because you guys were obviously your families and stuff, or family and whatever, but we were also really good friends. And we'd go to each other's houses, obviously, like play video games and do this and do that and whatever. So I was actually really upset. So that whole tangent started with me saying that. So apologies. Carry on, man.
No, it was quite sad because I'd never really been to Bangladesh at that point, and all of a sudden I'm living there and I had to make new friends. You know, and we attended an English speaking school where this is so stupid. Basically, to determine what grade we're in, they didn't use our age. We had a meeting with the head teacher, me and my siblings, one by one, and the head teacher would ask us one question, and whether or not you get that right or wrong would determine completely which grade you're in. And I have no idea how the algorithm in this head teacher's head worked. To basically, the question they asked me was, she gave me the name of a person and said, "Who is this person?" I had no idea who she's talking about, and I was like, "Was he a freedom fighter?" And he was like, "No." She said, "No, he's a politician." "Okay, you're going to grade 4," and I was like, "Okay." Essentially, I was 1 year lower than I should have been.
So you had no test or anything?
No, that was the test. And
just one question.
My dad was so disappointed. He's like, "How would you get that wrong?" And I was like,
I'm like a 7-year-old kid growing up in England.
Yeah, I was like 8 years old.
How are you supposed to know a random Bangladeshi politician?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah. But anyway, I spent about a year in this year group, and I did make friends eventually, but it was quite difficult. And then by the time we came back, it was sort of transitioning time into secondary school. So that was quite difficult. But we didn't move back to West Sussex. We moved back to Kent. So I suppose from one white area to Bangladesh to another white area.
That must have been like a bit of a culture shock to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it felt like I'd sort of gone backwards a little bit, except for mathematics and science. We, in school, because out there they teach you all these advanced techniques that teachers over here have no idea what you're doing, but you still get to the same answer that they get to. Except for that, everything else I was behind in school. Socially, I felt like me and all of my siblings were a little bit, what's the word?
Kind of left behind.
Yeah, left behind. Yeah.
We like when you that transition from primary school to secondary school, you carry a lot of your friends over initially, don't you? Because more time, you and your friends from primary school, you will all end up going to the same secondary school. Obviously, you've taken a year out, and then started again straight into secondary. So you didn't go back to primary, catch up with your old friends, then you all went to secondary. You just went straight from Bangladesh straight into secondary school.
Yeah.
And I think as well, like I think even if you grow up in England, it's a little bit more like awkward for us anyways, because like, for example, we'd speak Bengali at home already and have all these different customs. So it's almost difficult as it is. Yeah. But on top of that, you went to Bangladesh, lived there, got accustomed to that, and then came back.
Absolutely, yeah. A lot of our social abilities was very, very much stifled. And we had to just sort of readjust. We had to just readjust, really. So we my family still live in Kent, and I've been sort of between Kent and London for the past 5 or so years. So that's my history, I guess.
Yeah.
There's not really much else there.
It's good to know because, like I said, I haven't met you, and also like the premise of our podcast is around our experiences, especially us growing up in non-ethnic areas, and to share some of that experience. So it'd be good to know like your background from that. So it's good to know, man. Yeah.
Well, the interesting part about what I do is really that I do a lot of equality-based work. I do a lot of fitness work as well. The reason I go into fitness is similar to modelling. I want to be brown representation. But additionally, we have such unhealthy cultures, Bengali cultures, the food that we eat, the way we disregard sleep and health. I really wanted to try and improve that, especially for my kids.
And like, even if you are fit, right? Someone look at you like, you need to gain some more weight, or you look unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
That is so true, man. That's so true. And do you know, actually, and I don't know where this stems from, but it's like in Asia and I think some parts of Africa, being there's one thing to be skinny, one thing to be healthy looking, and then there's one thing just to be fat. In our culture, I genuinely think, obviously not like obese, but being overweight is seen as something that is a good thing because it makes you look, obviously people listening, this is inverted commas, healthy.
You know what it is? It's that being slightly overweight and light skinned. They love that, right?
Yeah. So if you're like a little bit like bit of padding on the side and like slightly lighter.
By the way, we're not like body shaming anyone or anything like that. We're just saying like that's their standard of like healthy. Because like
that's right, yeah.
One of the things we're talking about today, obviously we've spoken about a little bit about Mish's background and stuff, but we wanted to focus on like well-being, because that's an area that you kind of are involved in, and it's like I think it's an important topic to talk about. But in terms of like if you're slightly overweight or a bit chubbier, as they say, and light skinned, that's like you're seen as healthy, right?
I think an important distinction to make is that in the Bengali language, there is no word for healthy. So I don't think you're seen as healthy if you're in that state. You're just seen as normal. Whereas anything bigger than that, you're fat. Anything smaller than that or skinnier than that, then you're anorexic, essentially. Right? And unfortunately, brown people have got a habit of, a cultural habit of putting you down no matter what. I got 100% in a maths test once, and my dad started berating me for not getting 120%. and this genuinely happened. This is when my nan was still alive, when my dada was still alive, and she really backed me up here. But he was saying to me that I should have figured out some new formula that had never been figured out before, and then maybe they would have given me extra marks. And
it's mad, isn't it? Because in the eyes of most first generation Asian immigrants who are parents coming to a country like this, that's what they have, like almost an expectation that's so high, like impossibly high to meet, that when you don't do it, they just think like, oh, you're a disappointment. But if you think about it, it's their fault in the first place, because who told you to set your expectations that high? I didn't say that I'm going to do this.
Well, I think maybe it's the case of, imagine it from their perspective. Like, am I allowed to swear on this podcast? Like, holy shit! We came over. We came over to this country, basically, probably illegally. We came over to this country. We struggled.
At your parents.
we struggled, and we literally crawled from the dirt upwards, and we built this empire for you. If we can do that with nothing, and we've given you all of this, you must be like goddamn superheroes.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have that high expectation themselves. I suppose their parents probably had that same mindset as well. But it's definitely going to change. I think like when we have our own kids one day, inshallah, like we're not going to have that mindset. We're not going to instill it into our kids. But yeah, I think it's like I said, it's a norm, isn't it?
Hopefully not, but then you don't want to go too much in the opposite direction as well. It's about that healthy
Yeah.
balance, as with anything else, isn't it?
Definitely. So, bro, tell us a bit more about your well-being work that you do at the moment. Why did it start? How did it start? And where do you want it? Where do you want to go with it in the future?
So, like I said, the reason I got into fitness and well-being was to be a positive brown representation, but additionally because in our culture there's such a lack of positive well-being practices. And it was a comedian that said this. I can't remember which comedian, but he said that brown people will come to this country and they'll be very surprised to see that white people go for regular checkups to the doctors, even when there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah, that's true.
Whereas out there in Bangladesh or India or Pakistan, you need to literally have a really deep wound where there's risk of death before you go to get any medical attention. But then when brown people realize that you can get free NHS checkups, they'll be the first ones through the door
Yeah.
But for me, I think that there was such a distinct there's such a distinct lack of well-being practices within our culture. So it's something I really want to introduce. And I think the way I'm trying to introduce it is to really, a lot of people go online, they try and find the secrets to fitness or the secrets to how to lose weight.
Six-pack shortcuts.
Yeah, exactly.
I was literally going to say, like 14-year-old me Googling how to get a six-pack.
I even remember his name, Mike Chang.
Mike Chang, yeah. Well, funnily enough, he was doing like all these, he came back recently out of nowhere, and he was doing all these weird towel workouts and stuff. It just
during lockdown, right? Like,
yeah. He's a bit of an odd guy. I'm no steroid specialist, but I'm 90% sure he's on steroids. But he was quite entertaining regardless.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I basically wanted to dissect fitness and the different components of fitness and really present it to minority communities in a very digestible and applicable way. So a lot of people will do their fitness qualification to become a personal trainer or to become a fitness trainer, and then they will stick on their Instagram page weight loss specialist or muscle gain specialist. All of that means BS, to be honest. They've done no special qualification to get that title.
What annoys me as well, sorry to interrupt, like how you see some people, I don't know if I should say the brand, but like, the herbal, like nutrition stuff. They try to sell that, and because they do that, they claim to be health coaches.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, it's like the Forex trader thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
the Forex traders. Especially Asians, watch Wolf of Wall Street once, and they think they're like the new hot thing on Wall Street.
In the bio, they put like a chart, like next to Forex trader and like numbers.
And they're like, "I'll say it down, give me £100, I'll give you £10,000 in a week, innit?"
Absolutely, it's all con artists, really. It's people who are trying to use marketing methods, really, to just try and get people through the door. And I realized quite quickly that a lot of going a little bit on a tangent here, but a lot of personal trainers will essentially realize it's not as easy as getting £30 an hour, which is the average in the UK. In London, it's 50 quid. So let's
for a personal trainer.
For personal trainer,
Damn,
So let's say 30 quid average for nationally. So you'd love to get paid £30 an hour just to be dressed in shorts and a t-shirt or a vest, counting from 0 to 10 for each rep and just telling them, okay, now do this, now do that. But it's not that easy, because you've got really two ways to get into the gym as a personal trainer with your clients. You can either pay rent, which is about £700 or £800 a month to the gym to be able to use their space, or you can volunteer about between 20 to 25 hours a week of your time cleaning their equipment, leading personal training sessions or classes, which you don't get paid for at all. You're literally volunteering your time for free. So the barrier of entry is actually quite high. So all of a sudden, these personal trainers are really relying on first-time clients who will pay £200 to £300 for 10 sessions. And as soon as they get that payment, they'll give those sessions, but they're going to focus on the next client because they want to get that bulk amount of money through again. So they're not giving their clients really the time that they paid for, that they deserve. But anyway, going off on a bit of a tangent, my idea was to really try and present fitness in the healthiest, most in terms of its most basic components in an applicable way. So if I had to give myself some sort of specialism role, such as a weight loss specialist, etc., I'd probably say it's something along the lines of fitness application, right? Like, how do you apply fitness to your everyday life?
Yeah.
So the way I'm doing it at the moment is that I host these seminars in London. I try and target minority populations by going to their local libraries, etc., places where communities meet. And I'll try and deliver these seminars to these people, usually free of charge, just so that they have a good understanding of how to develop consistent and practical sleeping routines, nutrition, and physical activity.
Yeah.
Right?
It's all like, by the sounds of it, like, obviously for them it's not going to be basic, but it's quite basic health practices that we should be doing anyways. But like I said, in the Asian culture, they don't typically do that because for them the norm is, like I said, having oily foods. They barely probably even get any exercise. Their like form of exercise would be just, I don't know, maybe just going for a walk like after they eat some food for like 15 minutes and that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this falls into the one thing I tell people about physical activity is that the example you gave is low intensity and low volume. 15 minutes is very low volume. It's not enough time that you're doing this exercise. And just walking is very low intensity.
Yeah.
So you need to either have high volume or high intensity. Just pick one. A lot of time, high volume is harder because you have to be doing it for over an hour for it to be effective. So if you up the intensity to about 80% intensity, you can do it for about half an hour or so, and you'll get a lot of good results.
yeah.
What kind of, was there a light bulb moment in your head when you thought, I'm going to do this? Like, what was the transition of you not doing it too? Like, was it something that you had thought about doing for a long time and then you gradually built up to doing it? Or is it something you woke up one day and thought, oh, I know what would be a really good idea, this, and then you just went and did it?
Okay, so
Like, what was the lead up to you?
So I guess I understood that question in two ways. What was the light bulb moment to become a fitness trainer or a fitness specialist? Or what was the light bulb moment to try and deliver all this information to multiple people at once? Do you want me to answer both questions?
Yeah, both would.
Sure.
Both would be good. I think I got a grasp on the second one because you wanted to show a benefit to a larger community who don't understand.
Yeah.
But the first one's really interesting in that how did you decide fitness was what you wanted to do?
Yeah.
And well-being was something that you wanted to do.
I can answer both questions, I think. So first of all, the way I got into fitness was that during my teenage years, I was quite a fat kid, right? I almost...
Same.
I was going to say same as well.
Because our coaches really reinforced into us the idea that eating a lot of food is a positive thing.
Yeah, especially like, when you're growing up, especially in Bengali households, right? You have to have bhat. After you come home from school and at night. Like, if you don't eat rice and curry, you're going to be hungry.
Yeah.
Like, your parents are like, how are you supposed to grow if you don't eat rice and curry, right?
That's it. And there's nothing else to eat.
Yeah.
And rice and curry is very digestible. It's you can have a lot of it and still feel quite hungry.
Yeah.
So really our culture promotes the idea of hospitality as well, in that we invite other people into our homes. Food is like the heart of our community. We always feed each other and we really motivate each other to eat more and more food. So it's no wonder that you see a lot of plump brown kids running around.
And like burping as well is like normally seen as a good thing, right? If you have a whole meal and burp at the end of it, it's seen as a good sign that you enjoyed your meal.
Absolutely. So I was a bit of a fat teenager. And as I got older, I decided to start losing weight, etc. And I wanted to really help people to try and do the same, because I went through all these crazy methods, like having ice cold showers. I have no idea how that would even affect my body weight, but I tried it anyway. Why did I try? I wasted my time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's got a cold at the end of it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Yeah, like, and I don't know if you've ever had an ice cold shower. Sometimes you turn the shower on, it's so cold, you just don't want to step underneath it. You're so scared.
Oh man!
And it doesn't matter how many times you do it, you never get used to it.
It shocks your body, doesn't it?
Yeah, every single time, and you just like shudder whilst you stood under it. And I was thinking, oh, it's so painful, and I wasted so much time trying to do this to lose fat. It didn't make any sense even. So I wanted to really try and help people to avoid making those mistakes. The way I decided to start giving this information out through seminars is that me and my friend actually went to Bath for 2 days. And the reason we went to Bath is because we were both really overworked and really overstressed in London. And we thought, you know what, we want to go on holiday, but we're really poor. we have no idea where to go. And essentially we just pointed out a random place on the map, and it was Bath. And we went to Bath, and Bath is, I'm sorry to anyone who lives in Bath, really boring. There's nothing there.
Don't they call it Bath because they have those like Roman showers and stuff there? Is that what they're called? I'm sure that's what they're called, right?
Yeah, like, I think they've got Roman baths or something. Yeah.
Is that literally why it's called Bath? I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. So did you check it out?
They should have renamed it to Board, I think. Yeah, we checked it out from the outside, but we didn't really.
Yeah.
But we didn't really fancy the idea of like getting into a bath together. So we didn't, or paying somebody money so that I can see my friend naked next to me in a bathtub.
That's taking like bromance to another level, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, we did share a bedroom up there just because it's cheaper, but we didn't fancy the idea of paying somebody else money to see each other naked. But whilst we were in Bath, we were there for 2 days. After one day, we felt that, or after a couple of hours, we felt like we'd done everything we could. So we thought, let's try and do things that we'd never done before. And there was this guy hosting a comedy walk in Bath, and he was charging £10 per head for an hour and a half comedy walk. It's like a history walk or tour of Bath, but through comedy.
Yeah.
And we turned up on a Thursday evening of a school night, and there was like 40 people there, and he was taking £10 per head. And I was speaking to the guy, and he does it every single day, every day of the week. It just takes about an hour and a half of his time, and he said this is about the average number of people that would attend. Even if you're half that, how much money are you making? That's crazy. So that's where I got the inspiration from, to instead of doing personal one-to-one coaching, to transition to doing seminars to big groups of people.
Yeah, I think the thing about seminars and big groups of people as well, I think when it comes to fitness, I think especially within the Asian community, because it's something that I'm familiar with anyways, they might be a bit quite shy initially to do like one-to-one sessions, for example. So I think the fact that you're doing a group setting, yeah, beneficial for you to reach that many people, but it's also beneficial for the people partaking in these seminars because they're going to be in a group. So they're going to feel a bit more confident.
Absolutely. But additionally, when it comes to personal training, statistics have shown that 75% of PT clients are women. Men don't want to ask for help. They think they can do it themselves, which is fine. That's not a problem at all. But then if you marry that up with the Bengali community, do you think women are going to feel very, very confident of getting personal training?
I think Asian women in general will not.
They're not interested in getting into fitness, and they feel that if they do, they'll be judged. So if you marry that up with the general inhibition that people have around getting personal training in the first place, you're not going to get that many clients. So like you said, it's better to address people as a community, because we really thrive as a community, whereas individually as Bengali people, we do fall apart a little bit.
Yeah, massively. Yeah.
Gotcha. So go yourself.
No, I was going to ask, and obviously, so doing seminars involves like a level of like public speaking. How have you found that?
I've always been a shy kid, and I was never good at speaking in general, to be honest. But I think it wasn't actually that difficult. I felt very confident about the subject matter. I know a lot about fitness. I'm sort of obsessed with it to an unhealthy degree. So
You're going like 5K runs every day or something. Stuff said.
Yeah, so this month I'm doing this challenge where I'm running 5K every day for the month, and
Crazy.
yeah,
I don't think I've run 5K probably in the last like 2 years combined.
well, you know what? I've done this challenge once a year for maybe the past 5 years, where I'll pick a random month. And the first time I did it, I'm not a runner at all. Even now, my running is, I wouldn't say horrendous. My form and technique's decent, but I'm not a runner. My body's not designed to run.
Can I just? Last year, didn't you do it during Ramadan?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You're a madman. You're a madman.
Yeah.
Bro, I tried to go to the gym once during Ramadan. I nearly passed out.
Well, the first half of it, I really tried to keep up my strength building as well. So I was, I was doing a lot of weight sessions, running and fasting, and I was just destroying myself. And then actually, I saw that I was having, and this is something that I knew would happen. I don't know why I decided to be quite determined and do it anyway. I could see my body almost going backwards.
Yeah.
Because my body was starved for energy. So it was really tapping into my muscle resources and draining a lot of my muscle away just to keep me alive, basically.
Yeah, no, that's so I try to like work out as well as much as I can, and like you, like growing up, I was quite into fitness as well, and I think like during Ramadan, it's difficult, isn't it? It's like you said, you have no energy, you're literally fasting yourself. So when especially when you're doing it fasted, when you're working out, right, your body depletes its muscles, it goes into its muscles for its energy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And during Ramadan, one of the most toughest things is your lack of sleep. It's not so much lack of food, because you can eat loads of food in the nighttime, but really it's the lack of sleep. But the main reason I do it each year isn't actually to run, because I hate running. You can pick anything else to do this. But the main reason I do it is to remind myself. It takes me about an average of 30 minutes, if including showering and everything, about 45 minutes, just to remind myself that I have that time every day to actually dedicate to myself, whether it's through running or meditation or stretching or weightlifting, whatever it may be, just to remind myself that even if I'm living a very busy lifestyle, I do have that time for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in itself is an important lesson. And like you say, you can apply that to anything. It doesn't have to necessarily be fitness related, but you can apply that to anything, whether you like reading a book or whether you like just some chill time, or whether you want to listen to a podcast,
or whether you got like a passion project and you can't find the time to dedicate to it. You do have that time.
You do. And coming from a guy who I think overworks, do you want to say how many hours roughly on average you
over
work?
The past 3 months, I did some quick maths in the office.
Quick maths, yeah.
No, it wasn't quick maths. So we've got a booking on and booking off system at work.
Yeah.
So you just hit a button and it shows you the average hours you've worked overtime on top of your normal scheduled 40 hours a week. And mine was about 75 hours a week.
Wow.
So
Extra on top of the 40.
Extra on top of the 40. So almost 120 hours a week.
So
for the past
yes, coming from a guy that works 120 hours a week, you still manage to find time for yourself. You still manage to find time to do the research for your fitness stuff and to deliver seminars as well. So anyone who says, "Oh, I don't have time,"
this is not a lifestyle I would recommend. And actually, I'm taking my foot off the pedal a little bit, because I need to look after my own well-being a bit. So over the past few months, I have really gone ham at work. I've gone as hard as I could, because I'm really enjoying the work I'm doing at the moment. And I've got a very addictive personality, so I think I got addicted to work. I did a decent job of spinning multiple plates and looking after a lot of different projects at the same time, non-work related stuff like fitness and family, and personal relationships and health, etc. But it is something that I'm going to have to relax, and it's something I'd recommend others do as well.
Yeah, I think like the topic of well-being as well, like whether that's working out or we were saying like reading a book or listening to a podcast or whatever, like it's so important for your mental health as well, right?
Yeah.
And I think mental health is another big topic on its own, which I think we should have a separate topic or conversation for. But taking literally that time out of your busy schedule, whether it's work, uni, whatever it is, spending like half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour on yourself is really important, because it's a method of like escapism, and it takes your mind off any stress and your worries that you have and that you are going through. And it's especially important for your mental health. So yeah, it's crucial, I think, to do that. And just fitness in general, like it helps my mental health so much. I try to go gym maybe like 4 or 5 times a week, and spending like an hour and a half in the gym, I love it. Like the feeling you get from it, it's amazing.
And like Saf said, it doesn't have to be fitness. It could be reading a book. It could be just relaxing or spending time with your family.
How have your so moving on like a little bit, how have your seminars been received by like the audience? Like
they've been received really well. I think I've tried and make it very applicable to everyday life. I come from a work background where I did shift work, so I'd work earlies, I'd work day shifts, I'd work night shifts. So you're perpetually tired almost. So how do you fit fitness into that lifestyle? So I did it quite successfully for myself and for a lot of other clients who do shift work as well. And you find that after you after you manage to bring fitness into that hectic lifestyle, actually you start feeling a little bit more close to 100% again. You start to feel a little bit more rested and a bit more energetic. So even if you've got a very difficult lifestyle, I found that my clients or my seminar attendees have really well received the things that I've put out. I try and keep in touch with them as well, because as helpful as it may be, a seminar is addressed to a large number of people, whereas I do want that personal feedback, and I want to hear what it is that helped them, and I want to hear what it is that they're struggling with. And a lot of people have very individual personal problems. They may have a health issue, they may have a family circumstance that is getting in the way. So I like to get that one-on-one time with them, but generally it's been very well received.
Where do you see what's like the end goal for this, or is the end goal just to maintain it, or is there like, do you have future plans on that, on how you want to grow it, or your offering, or is the end goal to actually maintain what you're already doing?
So my end goal for me personally is to just maintain it and just doing my own little bit of positive work in my own space. I do accept the fact that I have got another full-time job in the public sector. I can't dedicate my entire life to fitness, and I've got a lot of equality-related projects as well. But yeah,
would you, if you could?
If I could, yeah, I'd love to. I've got a lot of ideas that I think would really help the nation, if not the world. At the moment we have calorie markings on food. It shows you how many calories there are per 100 grams. Some of these labels does need a little bit of almost a tutorial or instruction for you to be able to translate into what does it actually mean. How do you read this properly? I think a really good idea would be to not scrap it, but in addition have energy equivalent calorie measurements. So it shows you if you eat this Mars bar, you have to run for an hour and a half to burn it off.
Really good idea.
Yeah. I was going to say it's difficult, like it's as it is, but for people, especially in our background as well, who might not necessarily speak English as their first language or understands how that works, I think there needs to be an easy, digestible way for them to understand it. You mentioned like just now you've got like loads of different ideas. Like, can you share maybe, like, you don't have to say exactly what it is, but what some of these ideas could be and how they could help people from maybe from our background? Yeah,
so obviously some of my ideas are quite grand, like repackaging food so it has the exercise equivalent of calorie expenditure on there. Other ideas such as having some sort of fitness program embedded into schools. I think in terms of helping our community, it's really not about taking the rice and curry away, because it's something that we love, right? But maybe trying to make slight alterations. We don't have to cook with as much oil, and we don't have to have 3/4 of the plate be rice. We can have half a plate or a third of a plate of rice and have a lot more protein. A lot of the time we have vegetable curry, which maybe less than half is actually vegetables, and we have a lot of potatoes in there. Potatoes are great food to have, actually. They're quite healthy, but the way that we're cooking it and presenting it and the amount that we're having just isn't that healthy. So there's slight alterations that we could make. So I think it's important to start with where you are now and making those slight modifications.
Yeah, I think for me, realizing how unhealthy Asian diets really are is during Ramadan, because me personally, and I think a lot of people during that time, because we're not eating anyways, we take extra focus and extra care on our diets.
Yeah.
Because obviously when we break our fast, we want to make sure we're breaking it with the right foods. But I think for me personally, that's when I realised, like, oh, damn, like our diet's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I suppose, like, for us, when it comes to maybe telling our parents, because a lot of us, for example, like living at home, we might not have moved out. We might be, students at home, still living at home, or whatever. Like, how would you say maybe it's a good way to communicate that to like people who would understand, like our parents?
That's quite difficult, because even with my parents, it's quite difficult. One thing I've really tried to nail down with them is to have less oil in their foods.
Yeah.
Right. So we try to buy kitchenware, like pots and pans, that where you don't actually need as much oil or no oil at all when you're cooking your foods. Slightly healthier alternatives, less processed foods. Like I said, it's just about trying to introduce substitutes or alterations to the foods they're actually eating already, so they don't have to completely switch up their lifestyle.
I think it's just a mentality thing.
Yeah.
I like, no matter how much you tell them, they might even understand it,
Yeah.
but they just don't want to change it because that's how they've been grown up. Like my mum, it's very telling when my mum says to me, so my mum hates eating out. She hates eating takeaway food. She would never go to a restaurant to eat their food. She doesn't like anything other than rice and curry. And she, in her own admission, says, I can eat all different things all day, whenever. But until I've had a plate of rice and curry, I will not feel full.
Yeah. You know what? Well, it's obviously your mum is my dad's sister. Yeah. And my dad is the exact same.
Yeah, I was going to say my mum's the same. I think all Asian parents are like, if you don't eat a plate of rice and curry, even if you go out, right, with your friends, you have a takeout, you have, like, I don't know, like you go Nando's or whatever, like you eat out with your friends, right? You come back home from night out with your friends and your mum's still up, she'll be like, have a plate of curry before you go to bed, otherwise you'll be hungry.
Yeah, well, like, they say it as if, like, if you don't have this, then leprechauns are going to break in and, like, destroy you in your sleep.
They act like if you don't have it, you'll die. Basically.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. Yeah.
But the actual fact of it is, the more you have, the more chance there is of you getting diabetes and dying. Literally.
And that's backed up because, like, Asians have one of the highest rates of diabetes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Bengali people are, I think, twice more at risk of COVID-19 than white people are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and that's because they have things like diabetes, isn't it?
Yeah, pre-existing health conditions.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's crazy.
We're almost born pre-diabetic. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, we are. It's really
you're right. It's got to the point where so many of our ancestors, like, or lineage, whether that be father, grandfather, great-grandfather, whatever, have had diabetic. You're absolutely right. It's almost got to the point where it's inevitable.
Yeah.
And almost regardless of, it's been happening for so long that it is actually a makeup of your DNA that you will get diabetes.
Well, there's a lot of research being done into genetics, which really interests me in terms of fitness, in that the way that you live your life doesn't physically change your genetics, strictly speaking. Your genetics will still be there, essentially. Your bad genetics will still be there. But it does essentially switch some of them off and switch different ones on. So if you had a kid whilst you're obese, and then you had another kid whilst you're fit and healthy, the kid who you had whilst you're obese, there is more likelihood of those, let's say, negative genetics being switched on, right? So actually, you're completely right. You know, the lineage that you come from does determine your genetics to quite a large degree, right? Yeah.
I think we were talking about mindset as well. What you said, Saf, like it's just in the mindset. Like, for example, if, like, from people in my family, if someone's, like, genuinely trying to be healthy and trying to be fit, like, so, like, my mum, for example, she likes to, like, exercise here and there, right? And she won't admit it to people because, like, people would give her, like, shame almost, like, why should you be doing that? And I think especially for, like, it's crazy, isn't it? And, like, my mum's, like, quite healthy in terms of, like, she looks quite young, but it's because she's been taking care of herself. Like, I remember when I was growing up, like, she used to do stuff like go to the gym with my dad and stuff like that, right? But if anyone any of my other aunties heard that, they would like finish her basically. Like that's that stigma, if you know what I mean.
How dare you try to maintain a healthy
Yeah.
lifestyle? How dare you not want to die?
Even today, right? Like you know, like my mum's like quite young looking and stuff. Like she gets it from certain aunties and from and stuff. Like they pick on her because, like, I know it sounds stupid, but I've seen it with my own eyes. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't want to be in your grave by the time you're 40?
I've got a lot of South Asian clients, and a lot of them really do echo this culture that we live in. The fact that there's a lot of fit shaming happening.
there is,
right? Yeah, absolutely.
Like-
You get fitter, your body shape changes, etc. And for me, when I started losing weight, I started losing weight from my belly and started gaining size on my arms. And my mum said I look like a pregnant woman. And that doesn't make any sense. But my entire family was shaming me because of it. Right.
I think you almost kind of hit the nail on the head, like fit shaming. Like, if I could sum this conversation up, I think one is like awareness within health and fitness within our community and well-being, but like fit shaming is another thing as well. Like, one of the reasons why people don't focus on our health and our fitness as much is because that you've got that fit shaming aspect of it as well. So people will not genuinely try to be fit and healthy because they're scared of what other people will say and think.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to be able to identify and accept what does healthy look like and what does it mean. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
And like you said, Saf, if they're not willing to accept these things or introduce changes into their life, it doesn't matter what you say or what you do, they're just not going to do it. You know, it's that old adage that you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
So if there is anyone out there listening who's thinking my family really aren't changing their habits or their environment to lead healthier lives, don't exhaust yourself trying to make them change, because it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, there's two elements to it really. From what I've kind of taken away is the first part is the lack of knowledge around kind of health and the fact that people maybe don't take health and fitness as seriously as they should. And the second aspect of it is that mentality, like, oh, like, we don't need to do that. It's not important, or it's shameful or whatever. So there's like almost two parts to it.
Yeah. And I think shame, that needs to be its own really podcast episode. Shame is such a powerful word and theme in our culture. You know, the word for shame in our language is shorom. Right?
Yeah.
And it rests really heavily on our shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, and even if you know you're not doing anything bad, sometimes you feel shame wash over you still.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's almost like being bred into the identity of being Asian. And I think there's, obviously, I'm not African, so I don't know, but I think there's a lot of that involved also in the African community too.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, someone might tell me otherwise, but, you know, as far as I understand. And it's, no, you're right, it is that. And also, the other thing is, one person might be minding their own business, doing their own thing, like trying to lose weight, go to the gym and whatever. And you get the comments of like, oh, look, he thinks he's so sick now, innit? Because he goes to the gym like once a week or twice a week or whatever. Oh, who does he think he is? Like, bro, is it my fault you want to be fat?
Yeah.
And I don't.
Yeah.
Like, you get me?
It's jealousy as well. They're jealous. That's why, because they're jealous of someone else's success and someone else doing well.
Absolutely. When my body first started changing, I'd be taking gym selfies. I'd be uploading them to Instagram. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I was feeling myself.
as you should. Do you know what I mean? As you should.
Exactly. And there's still a lot of
When I bust weights, I bust weights now. I'm not. I have a little flex in the mirror. It's you need to. You need you as a person, as an individual. You're exerting your energy into doing something that more time you might not want to do. The first time I worked out in a long time, the other day, I felt sick. I felt horrible. I thought I was going to throw up. I want to look in the mirror and see a change. Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point of me doing it?
It's like, you know what, how I see it. You know, like you see some people flex, right, with like nice cars and stuff. I hate it when people do that when they don't work for themselves. But when you genuinely like work hard, you know, into your career and you're doing all these businesses and literally making money, being successful. Yeah, like what's you can flex once in a while. You've worked for that, right? Like you have the right to, and it's the same with fitness.
Same with fitness. You've worked hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of the fitness trainers I've trained with who who might not even know my history from going from being unhealthy. You know, they might have quite good genetics. They might have grown up on fitness. They might have not have had that sort of transformation, but they'll sort of bemoan people who upload these sort of selfies, or they'll see people who are, you know, quite fat or chubby in the gym who are taking selfies in the mirror, flexing, or you know, striking some poses, and they'll say, "Oh, why are they doing that? That's so stupid. Everyone's about social media, materialistic, etc. Blah blah blah." No, I think people should do that, because if that's what it takes for them to feel good and then get them to come back to the gym the next day, then why should they not do that? Yeah. Do you want to go to the gym and sweat for 45 minutes in pain and agony, and then just leave not having taken anything with you? It's almost like a
reminder.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say like a reward or something, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It is a reward. If you're working hard, it's like, for example, okay, you go to work as a normal day job. You work 8, 9, 10, or in your case, probably about like 17 hours a day or whatever.
Yeah.
And you do that for the month, and then at the end of the month, you don't see your money, your salary, your wage isn't in there.
Yeah.
What's the motivation for you to go back to work the following
Absolutely.
month? There isn't one, is there? And this is exactly the same thing. You do it to see results.
Yeah.
So what's so bad or harmful in taking your picture here and there? And not only that, it's a good way to keep track of how far or how well or not well you're doing.
Yeah, you know what it is? Like, people who have done that, who have been through the struggle and have worked hard, they appreciate it. So when they see other people succeed, they get happy. The people that get jealous and hate on other people is the ones that don't do it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like,
Well, no, you've got a lot of people in the gym who are already quite fit, and they'll see chubby people taking pictures, or chubby people in the gym, and they'll almost act like they don't belong there. And I think
that's just that's stupid, right? Because
Yeah.
they should know what that feels like.
Yeah, and it's insane, because that's fit shaming from somebody who's categorically in a fit position against someone who's unfit but trying to get fit, and they're being fit shamed. So it's a very weird role reversal. But I remember when Nike actually brought out some mannequins. The mannequins was actually chubby people, but in sports clothing, right? And a lot of people were like, "Why would you want to have that as your mannequin?" Well, actually, when you walk into the shop and you see these mannequins, you want to see yourself, right? You don't want to see. If you go into the Nike shop in Oxford Circus, you'll see like these really hench mannequins, and it's very unrealistic.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see an average looking mannequin wearing clothes that for average people.
Absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned something a few minutes ago, which was to do with the relation between genetics and fitness. And I don't know if you've come across it, or if you might have read it or whatever. Are there certain cultures or certain areas of the world where people are from, i.e. Asian, black, white, whatever, where certain ethnicities are geared up more to be able to do well with fitness stuff?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, with that as well, like, typically Asians are smaller, right? Especially Bengalis. So
That's why I asked.
yeah.
Also, because I've been trying to lose this belly man for like 5 years and it's just not working.
We Bengalis are skinny fat. That's what it is.
To the point where I'm thinking, actually, is it possible for me to get rid of it? Sort of. Is this just innate inside me? Like,
I'm just asking for a friend.
So it seems like such a taboo topic, because nobody wants to attribute any specific characteristics to any ethnicity. I don't want to say race, because you know, I hate using that phrase. That terminology was introduced to dehumanize people and say they're not part of the human race, so we can enslave them essentially, right? So let's say ethnicity. There are characteristics and qualities associated to certain ethnicities, and Kai Green, who's actually
He's a beast.
He is a beast. He's an absolute beast. I think he's won like Mr. Olympia many times. He's essentially a bodybuilder. He's hench and ripped at the same time. You know, so he's crazy. But for a lot of people, he really embodies exactly what they want. You know, they'll think that he's got the most aesthetic body and the best genetics, and I know I'm borrowing his story here, but he went to India and he spoke to all these people, and he said there were thousands of people there who were big fans of him. And one person asked the question, because they had Q&A. One person asked him the question, "Oh, does genetics have anything to do with fitness? Oh, you know, as Indian people, are we disadvantaged? And the way he said it is that he looked out to this crowd of thousands of eyes looking back at him, like hopeful eyes, and he just felt like he didn't have the heart to break it to them that yes, it does. The fact is, it shouldn't stop you from becoming athletic or getting into fitness or changing your body, because any of us can do it. You mentioned about your belly. You're not. Science applies to you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not some sort of superhuman that science. You defy science if you eat less calories than you, if you burn more calories than you take in, you will start to lose weight, right? And in this situation, Kai Green didn't really know what sort of answer to give, so he started speaking about weaknesses within weak characteristics amongst black bodybuilders, and he really focused on the fact that they have smaller calves.
I was about to say, I think that's quite like a common thing, like within bodybuilders. Like, I think, black people are seen to have like smaller calves, whatever. Not all of them, but I think generally, isn't it? Yeah.
So that's seen as like the general trait amongst black bodybuilders, right? So I think genetics does play a huge role. There's certain parts of your body, such as muscle insertions, that no amount of steroids can really change. But you should never, as much as you can take into account, and you can look at your own body and your own genetics and cater your fitness and your nutrition towards it, you should never let it stop you, no matter how bad you think your genetics may be.
Because I was telling you, Saf, this as well. Like, you started working out recently. Like, no matter what you do, as long as you work hard, right, you're going to see results.
Yeah.
And I think that applies. Like, when you start working out, when you start exercising, it does matter what you do, but not too much. Like, as long as you're working hard and doing the right exercises and things like that, you will start seeing results. And I think people should take that into account and think about that when they start working out. Like, the hard work you put in, you're going to see results regardless.
Yeah, your body will change. It's not like your body's just going to stay the exact same if you're applying that stimulus to it.
For sure, absolutely. Before we wrap up this episode, Mish, if you could give 3 top tips, doesn't have to be like to do with bodybuilding or anything like that, but just 3 top tips for physical well-being, what would they be?
It's really easy. So sleep between 7 to 9 hours every night. So that means be really selfish with your sleep. If you have a partner or somebody that you sleep next to who's makes it quite difficult for you to sleep, find somewhere else to sleep. Have a bedtime divorce, essentially. That is probably the one thing that you should always focus on first. Focus on getting that right. Secondly, in terms of food, if you want to grow, eat more food. If you want to shrink, eat less food, right?
Simple as that, right?
Yeah, it's that simple. Do a little bit of research to calories. Don't start counting your calories, because I find that ruins your relationship with food. But do keep an idea of how many calories each food is and how many calories you're taking in, right? You don't have to count it or be meticulous. I don't do that, to be honest. But just bear in mind what you're eating and try and make it quite intuitive in terms of how much you're eating. And the third thing would be just pick any physical activity, whatever you think you'd enjoy most, and try and do it every day or every other day. And that's it. That's all you really need to do.
Amazing. And just to finish up, if people want to reach out to you, or they're interested in the seminars that you hold, or perhaps just need your advice, is there a place that they can hit you up on?
Yeah, so I don't really have my own fitness pages and stuff online, just because I'm not really that interested in doing that sort of stuff, to be honest. So there's so many people online. I don't want to be lost in the sea.
That, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be lost in the sea of personality. So a lot of the time it's the venue that advertises it. However, the only place you can really find me online, I think, is my Instagram at Premium Brown Boy.
Nice. Very premium indeed.
Just if you wanted to, just reach out and message me. I'm happy to speak to anyone.
Yeah, we'll put in like the link bio and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
But I'll just say, what a name,
sure.
Premium Brown Boy.
Yeah, I know.
I picked that name, and since I got into fitness and modeling, a lot of people have said that it's not professional enough. You need to change your username, etc. And I just thought, I'm not a very funny person, and this was one of the only funny things I've ever done. I'm not going to let go of it.
and also, I don't think, judging by what you've told us, you're not trying to make your career about fitness.
Yeah.
You're doing it as a project on the side so you can help the community.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be one of these people who Mish at fitnessrus.com, like one of these dudes, and
absolutely.
the 6 best ab workouts to get ripped in 2 seconds and all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more of a comprehensive overall view of physical well-being.
Yeah. Holistic well-being, I'd say. Yeah.
Nice.
And I want people to just get the genuine article. I don't want to present myself as something I'm not.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Anything to add?
I was going to say no. I was going to say it's a good episode. It was good to meet you, Mish, for the first time.
Thank you,
and
you too.
I felt like this was a really, really productive episode.
Definitely, man.
I definitely enjoyed the conversation, especially like I feel like it had a good purpose in it, like well-being. And I think that's something that lacks within our community. So I appreciate your time, Mish. It was good to have
That's
you
okay.
on.
No, thank you. I know that there's a distinct lack of comedy in this episode.
It was good.
We busted some good jokes, I think.
Yeah.
It's all right because we're
jokes-
not in the
yeah.
comedy section of Apple Podcasts. In case you didn't know that we're on there on Spotify and Google Podcasts and Amazon Podcasts and YouTube.
Well, the comedy will bring them in, and hopefully the information will keep them around.
Exactly.
What did we put ourselves under? We put ourselves under life,
Society and culture.
society, and culture. That's
That's quite fancy.
There's actually 3, but I can't remember the other 2. To be honest, I just remember that one. But yeah, anyone who listens, we'd appreciate it if you gave us a 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. We've only got 3 at the moment.
That's
So
15 stars.
yeah. To be fair, yeah. If anyone asks, we're a 15-star rating on YouTube. We're
that's
actually the only one.
I was going to say, I think this is the first episode where we're actually out now. Like all the 5 episodes that we filmed and recorded prior to this, we weren't on any platforms. Now we are, so we'd appreciate any shares, obviously listen, download, subscribe, like, all of that. So we would highly would really appreciate that.
I'm not one of the hosts of this podcast, but I've been on a few podcasts before, and I've seen how helpful it is for listeners. Whether or not you like the podcast, reach out to the hosts and tell them what you liked and didn't like. Give them some ideas, and even just engaging with the hosts of a podcast is very helpful for the creators to know what sort of content is working, what isn't working.
Definitely.
So even if you don't leave any reviews or you don't listen to any more episodes, have a look on the social media pages and try and connect with them and tell them what you liked or didn't like.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, for sure. That would be much appreciated. And we don't want to hear from you only with good things. It could be bad things as well. Things you like, things you don't like. But yeah.
So how can they reach out to you?
Oh, you're just taking our job, man.
Go on, Tom.
Yeah, hit us up on Twitter is just at Native Outcasts. Instagram is at the Native Outcasts. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, just search the space Native space Outcasts, or just type it into Google because we are the first one that comes up.
Yeah, the Native Outcasts. And we've got an email as well. So it's literally the nativeoutcasts@gmail.com. So if you have any questions, any suggestions, any feedback or anything like that, just write to us. If you have any questions or any future topics as well, just let us know, and we'll definitely talk about it, I think.
All right, Choudhury G, do you want to see us out?
Thank you for listening to the Native Outcast podcast. Peace, love, blessings.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.